It was an unthinkable event that left many shocked and devastated in the aftermath. Two misguided teenagers set to wreak havoc on hundreds of innocent students at their high school. But what were their true motives behind the madness and cruel intentions? Let's take a look back at the infamous Columbine incident and find out what actually happened. Dylan Klebold and Eric Harris had what would be considered a typical middle-class childhood. They both were able to make friends, played sports, and even grew up with both parents in the household. The boys would first cross paths in middle school during the 7th grade. The two shared a number of similarities and developed a deep connection with one another. As they entered their teenage years, they would attend Columbine High School. Eric and Dylan were basically an inseparable duo. The two even began working together at a local pizza place. When they weren't working, the two could be found doing all sorts of things with one another. But somewhere along the way, a more sinister side of the teens started to emerge. Much of their free time was spent on their computers, playing violent video games like Doom. Aside from gaming, they also engaged in a number of delinquent affairs, which they referred to as rebel missions. Eric even created his very own personal blog, where he would post about the troubling behavior. Other entries made on the blog involved long passages about their hatred for society and their murderous fantasies. During one of their rebel missions, the police would catch the boys breaking into a car as they attempted to steal computer equipment. They both were arrested and pled guilty to felony theft. The judge ordered them to participate in a program for troubled youth. While this should have been a wake-up call for the teenagers and their parents, it apparently wasn't. More explicit dark fantasies would be written in their personal journals and also posted to their blog. The violent themes also began to surface in their school projects and class assignments. Now writing short stories about Charles Manson, poems written about bullets, and other class work centered around guns in school. The pair were also enrolled in video production classes, and they would make multiple videos focused on violence. Producing short films of themselves dressed up in trench coats and unleashing havoc on anyone that stood in their way. The warning signs were on full display. Soon the teenagers would put the wheels in motion and turn their graphic art films into reality. While Eric and Dylan were too young to purchase guns themselves, they were able to convince their older friends to do so on their behalf. The duo now had shotguns and handguns in their possession. In addition to the firearms, the boys had used the interwebs to extensively research homemade explosives. The troubled high school teens had planned a horrific massacre. On a Tuesday morning, 2 backpacks filled with homemade bombs were placed in a remote field, about 3 miles from their school. The intent was to create a fiery diversion when detonated, to lure emergency services away from their primary target. Klebold and Harris then would head to their school and place additional bags filled with explosives in the cafeteria. The lunchroom holds about 400 students, and the bombs were rigged to blow during the first lunch period. After arranging the bags, they went back to their cars to wait for an explosion. Both of their cars were also rigged to blow, for the purpose of creating more chaos. The very first part of their plan worked, as the explosives dumped in the field created a small fire. It alerted emergency vehicles away from the school as they expected. After waiting several minutes in their cars for the cafeteria bombs to go off, nothing happened. The boys then resorted to Plan B of their treacherous scheme. Fully armed with an assortment of weapons and another bag full of explosives, they headed toward the school entrance. Along their way, Eric and Dylan tossed pipe bombs in the parking area. Some students assumed the boys were playing some sort of senior prank. Others saw they were up to no good and ran away in a hurry. The teenagers, dressed in trench coats like worn in their short films, proceeded to enter the school to eliminate the students one by one. They began opening fire on several students in the hallways, while making devious remarks. Shortly after the chaos started, the police were made aware of the horrific happenings and quickly arrived on the scene. A brief gunfight then took place between the boys and the officers. The gunfire kept the police at bay, allowing Klebold and Harris to advance to the other parts of the school. The pair went to the library, where they assumed more students would be hiding. They first sought out jocks in the room, instructing them to come forward. The boys began tormenting the frightened teens and confessing their disdain for them all. They proceeded to check around for students hiding in the room. When they found some students, they would open fire. While in the library, Klebold and Harris killed 12 people and badly injured 10. The two then left the library and made more rounds throughout the school. They began checking classrooms for other students and tossing more pipe bombs down the halls. To their surprise, most students had already managed to evacuate the building during their attack in the library. Now unable to find more potential victims in the school, the misguided teenagers decided to go back to the library, where they concluded their horrific plan. Harris and Klebold shot themselves as their final act, ending the morning of terror. The Columbine massacre resulted in over 20 injured and 12 dead. After the shocking event took place, the school was shut down for the following 3 weeks. After the incident, many of the survivors that were in attendance suffered from PTSD. And more fear was instilled in students nationwide after what transpired. Some schools implemented stricter security measures, such as checking bags and installing metal detectors. Unfortunately, more incidents have taken place over the years, causing more concerns for parents and students. What do you think about this story? Leave a comment below and let me know.